மீனா மேம்
ஸ்ரீஜென்கம் இருக்காங்க.
இருக்காங்கல்ல?
எஸ் எஸ்.
மீனா மேம் மீனா மேம்
ஃபோன் பண்ணுங்கப்பா. நான் எவ்வளவு மினிட்ஸ் இருக்கு? only 2 minutes is there, no?
அதான்.
Get ready.
Good morning, Meena.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Yes, good morning, ma'am.
Hello.
Meena? Where is Meena?
Meena, ma'am.
She's there.
ஒரு 5 minutesல ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம்னு சொன்னாங்கப்பா.
வராங்களா? ஓகே ஓகே.
வராங்க.
ஓகே.
ஒரு 5 minutes. கொஞ்சம் participants join பண்றாங்க. Wait. She's waiting.
I reached 100, I think. 98. It's 100 now. Oh. சங்கீதா ரெக்கார்டிங் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாமா?
நான் இது பண்ண உடனே நான் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடுறேன். once program start ஆனோனே ஸ்டார்ட் ரெக்கார்ட்.
ஓகே ஓகே.
இன்னும் ரெக்கார்ட் பண்ண ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணல. once program ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ண உடனே I will start record.
ஓகே.
மீனா மேம் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடுறீங்களா? மீனா மேம்
we have to wait 2 minutes.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. Only 10:58, ma'am. In 2 minutes is that.
Okay.
Now it's 11 o'clock, pa. Oh, where's Meena?
Participants are on the way. Wait for 5 minutes.
Okay, we will wait for another 5 minutes.
7:05 will start.
Shanti ma'am, start பண்ணலாமா?
Where is Meena?
Meena ma'am. Meena ma'am.
We can start.
So we start?
Yes, ma'am, we can start.
Okay. So good morning to everyone. A warm welcome to all. The more we have to testify of and the more people testifying, the more the world we realize how deep and wide his love, that miracle happen and prayers work. Let me first of all start by giving the glory to the Almighty God to make the webinar a grand success and Pachaiyappa to shower his benediction on us. On this account, I, Dr. Shanti, Department of Botany, would like to welcome you all here this morning, and I would like to thank you for joining us for today's webinar. The being organized by the Department of Library, Pachaiyappa's College. With the quotes of Marcus Aurelius, nothing has such a power to broaden the mind as the ability to investigate systematically and truly all that comes under thy observation in life. I take this opportunity to welcome our principal in charge, Dr. Sri Jayanti ma'am, faculty members and students, and also extend a warm welcome to our resource person, Dr. Fazul Niza, and participants. The theme of this webinar is the big question, how to get published in an impact factor journals. Hope this webinar will give you an understanding in finding a right journal to publish. Now I request Mrs. Meena, librarian and convener of the webinar, to give welcome address to the gathering. Over to you, ma'am. Meena?
Meena ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. All of a sudden it's being muted. Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to all. Respected Principal Dr. Sri Jayanti ma'am, faculty members and participants, on behalf of the organizers and the Department of Library, it is an honor for me to welcome you to this webinar. Today we have Dr. Fazul Niza, Assistant Professor, Department of Library and Information Science, University of Madras, as our resource person, and she is going to deal with the topic, the big question, how to get published in impact factor journals. A quote by Philip Zimbardo: academic success depends on research and publication. In this competitive environment, it is important for the researchers to publish in journals with impact factors. Journal impact factor is an important yardstick to measure the importance and impact of research. It is fortunate to have our chief guest to discuss such an important topic. Thank you for taking your time from your busy schedules to share your thoughts with us. Once again, I welcome you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I now invite our principal, Dr. Sri Jayanti ma'am, to give the presidential address to the gathering.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure in inviting you all to attend this one-day national webinar on the big question, how to get published in impact factor journals, conducted by the Department of Library Science, Pachaiyappa College, Chennai, 30. I'm happy to share the fact that our college is completing an historic milestone of 180 years of service to the poor and downtrodden students. In our journey, the Department of Library Science contribution is a remarkable one. Just there, we can say they are the source of inspiration to the students that by looking in our library and by seeing the good old books and the good collection of books, they are the inspiration to the people who are studying in our college. We can also say that they are not only stacking the books and lending the books, but they are also extending their services to the students, like conducting literary programs, webinars, and so on like this. Excellence in our research papers and to learn how effectively write and submit our work to high impact journals. Regarding this, today we have Dr. Fazilunisa H, Assistant Professor, Department of Library Science, University of Madras, who will give a presentation to highlight the factors to assist all young researchers to get better understanding of various issues related to publishing their data. I would like to express my thanks to the speaker for accepting our invitation to participate in this webinar. I also appreciate all the attendees for their enthusiastic participation in this webinar. Particularly, I would like to congratulate Meena, librarian, and the organizing team for their efforts to organize such a wonderful webinar today. I wish the webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I call upon Dr. Kodishwari, Department of Botany, to introduce our today resource person.
Good morning to all and all. I would like to brief you about the resource person, Dr. Fazilunisa. Dr. Fazilunisa currently works as National Professor, Department of Library and Information Science at the University of Madras, Chennai. She is an experienced person and passed her MSc degree from University of Madras with gold medal. She has obtained her PhD from the University of Madras, Chennai, and also cleared UGC NET with Junior Research Fellow. Dr. Fazilunisa has a keen interest in research. She is an expert in the field of learning techniques and information science. She has successfully completed 3 research projects funded by University of Madras, South Asia, LIS Research Fund, Emerald, UK, and ICSSR, India. She also acted as resource person in various institutions. She has acted as Menley advisor, conducted many workshops in using the reference management software. She has received the award for joint author. We are highly privileged to have you in our midst for today's webinar. I hand over this session to the resource person, Dr. Fazilunisa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very good morning to one and all present here. It gives me great pleasure actually, because when I was studying, here I'm a Chennai girl. So when I was studying here, Pachaiyappa's college generally meant it's for men's college. And to see the entire organizing team, from the person who's heading the team, okay, Dr. Sri Jayanti ma'am, the principal in charge, and then we have the convener, Mrs. Meena, and then we have the co-conveners, Kotishwari ma'am and Shamla Gauri, and the organizing secretaries, Dr. Shanti and Dr. Sangeeta. It gives me great pleasure to see women at the helm of affairs, and I'm really happy to be here, as a resource person on this particular day. No offense to all the men, but then I think it really is a kudos on our back, and it's a good thing. So I think we should really take pride in that first. So I would like to thank the organizing committee at the outset for inviting me and for having me here for this particular session. And I hope we have a very meaningful and a valuable session at the end of the day when we take back something from this. So without much ado, just let's jump to the session. Right, like what Kotishwari ma'am was telling and Dr. Shanti was telling when she was introducing, and Dr. Principal ma'am was also telling about how important it is for us to publish these days. So yes, publications are something which we are kind of benchmarked on. As academicians, we are benchmarked on the kind of publications that we bring out, or the output that we are sending out. But how do we get understanding of where to really publish, where to publish, and how important it is to have a knowledge about where to get published. So I think that is the big question today, because at the end of the day, you publish something and then you finally find out that this particular journal is not included, or this cannot be added on to your professional achievements. Then it poses a big question. I mean, it poses a big problem at that particular point. So therefore, right from the beginning, right from when you start your research itself, it's always good to have an idea as to where to publish. So how do we identify these journals, or how do we identify these places where you should really get published? So that is what the focus of this particular session is going to be, as to how to identify those journals and how to prepare your paper, how to prepare your article itself, or your research thesis, or your research report, whatever you're doing. So how do you prepare it so that you get yourself published, or get yourself amidst a kind of a recognized field? So how do we do that? So that is what we're going to be seeing in our presentation today. So yes, it's a very interesting topic as to how to get published in impact factor journals. So I hope my screen share is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So if you would like to ask questions or something, we can have it at the end, or if you would like to post some question at the big in the middle, maybe you can do it on the chat box, and somebody can watch the chat box and let me know if there is a question.
Sure,
Yes,
sure.
ma'am?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay, so let's just jump into it. Right. So what will I be dealing with in this particular session? So we'll be talking about, like I told you, the aspects which are important, or which go into selecting the impact factor journal, as well as getting yourself published into the impact factor journal. So all of the aspects. So I'll be dealing with itself. What is the impact of the literature review that you do? How do you do a review of literature? How do you carry out a review of literature? And how does that have an impact in you getting published in a good journal? The research design, how do you design your research? How should a research design ideally be? What does teamwork have to do with getting published in an impact factor journal? So how do you write an abstract, and how an abstract can either make or break your chances into getting published into a journal? And then finally, another quintessential question, which is the journal selection. How do you select the right journal? Because there are so many journals out there. So how do you really focus on the kind of journal where you would like to get your article published in? And then, of course, if you want to get published in a journal, then you have to make sure that your paper, your research article, is impeccable. It has no plagiarism, no kind of flaws which are there in the particular paper. So how do you do that? As much as it is important to write your research paper, it is also equally important to draft out a perfect letter to the editor. How do you draft a letter to the editor? And finally, if there are some suggestions, or if there are some rejections based on certain mistakes that you have done, okay, so how do you handle the rejections? That is also pretty important, as to how to handle the rejection, and how do you go ahead with it, and just not stop with saying that, oh my God, I have been rejected, so I cannot write anymore. So instead of stopping, how do you go ahead with it? So the first step, like I told you, the first step in any kind of research activity, in any kind of research and development activity, in getting published in the kind of journal that you are, where you are looking for. If you are not going to carry out a proper search, a proper literature search, and do a proper review of literature from authorized sources, then how do you expect to get yourself published in authorized sources? So if the journals that you are going to be selecting for your review, for your literature search itself, to get an idea of the particular research problem or the particular research area, if you're not going to select it from the right kind of sources, if you're just going to do a Google Scholar search and, take off the articles which are freely available only, and you're not doing a probing study into articles that are really present in recognized in indexed databases, then what kind of a study do you think that you will end up with? So you won't have a proper material to fall back on. So the references also are very important, and the references will be generated from the kind of literature search or review that you are going to carry. And that is why it is essential to have an idea of the sources of the literature review sources which are available, of what are the sources which are available, information sources that are available. like all of you must be aware that the first step in research is to search for literature. Okay, to search for literature. So where do you search for literature? Do you just do a Google Scholar search, or do you just do a DOAJ search? Maybe I can look into the chat and see. I can ask you a question as to where do you search to get your for your research itself, to get articles or to find material for your research. Where do you search? What are the sources that you search for? What are the sources that you search for? So probably you can just type in so that I can just look in to know what are the searches. Yes, this is what I was looking for. ResearchGate. Somebody says ResearchGate. Yes. Academia. Yes, these are the two sources which I did not want you to name. But anyway, this is what you need to know, the difference between what is ResearchGate, what is academia, what is Google Scholar, what is PubMed. What do you mean by these recognized sources which are here, like Scopus, SciFinder, ShodhGanga, Springer, PubMed? I have listed out a few of them here. So now I was looking for these answers. I know a lot of you people look into ResearchGate and academia, but unfortunately, ResearchGate and academia are not recognized databases. They are more like social networking tools for researchers. Okay, they're more like a social networking tool for researchers, where a lot of researchers come together and they upload their preprints which have been published in the journals. Okay, in some of the journals. Now, all of the papers that are there in ResearchGate or academia need not be audible. Yeah, all of the papers, all of the research articles or the journal articles that are available on academia or ResearchGate need not be from a authenticated or authorized source. Some of the articles, because they are essentially uploaded by the researchers themselves. Okay, you understand what happens in ResearchGate and academia is, it is like researchers come together and they want to share it together. So it's more like a social networking pool. While it's a great platform, there is also a lot of chance for a lot of predatory journals to find their ways into that particular platform. And that is why that cannot be considered as a great tool for collecting information itself. So when you're collecting data, when you're collecting literature, when you're searching for literature, then please do so in some of the recognized journal indexes. Okay, the recognized journal indexes. Now the argument might be there, like, we do not have access to some of the indexes, like indexing sources like Web of Science or Scopus or ProQuest. These are all paywalled sources, and a lot of you might not have access to it. But what you can do is you can, visit a certain libraries, or visit or check with your librarian or the information professional who's available at your library to help you with searching any of these databases and getting the kind of authorized and authenticated sources. Why I'm saying this again is, only if you're going to search or only if you're going to do review of literature from recognized sources will you be able to get published in those sources. Okay, so all of this is connected. So from your review itself, right from your review till the discussion part of it, everything is going to be connected, and that is why I'm starting off with literature review itself. So it's very important that you know where you are searching, you know the source from where you are getting your articles from. Okay, so you know what a review is. A review is nothing but a synthesized summary of someone's earlier work, which helps you to support the kind of research that you are going to carry out. Journals are essentially carriers of scientific endeavors. Okay, so what do? I mean, they are necessary for the advancement of science, and they kind of publish research with enduring conclusions, which will stand the test of time, and therefore it is necessary that when you're looking for information, you look for journals or you look for articles which will help you to support your research, and not ones which are already faltered or which are published in predatory journals. And that is why literature search and review is a very important step. So something which helps you to identify the research problems, it identifies the gaps in the research that is there. So that is what your literature review is all about. Okay, so you look into, for example, when you're looking into the thesis and dissertations that have already been published, which will be available in the NDLTD database, which is the Network Digital Library of Thesis and Dissertation, or you look into ProQuest. There is PQDT Open, ProQuest Open, which will also help to look into databases, thesis and dissertations that have have been published across the world. So you look into these kind of databases to get an idea of what kind of research is happening throughout the world. So it gives you an understanding of the recent and active research topics that are taking place around the world. Okay, and hence once you get to know the right kind of sources where you can search for your literature, okay, and then you do a review of literature from those sources, then it helps you to build a good base for your research itself. So you're able to build a base for your research itself. Always remember that the literature review doesn't mean that, you know, you write one paragraph of literature review in your paper or in your thesis, okay, and then that's it, that's over, it's done with. No, literature review is something that helps you to build your research itself. It is something that will help you to either contradict or support, or, you know, go further on with your research, or go ahead with your research. So it is there throughout your process, throughout the research process. For suppose the methods that you're going to be using, okay, what kind of methods are you going to be using in your research, for your research? So what are the tools and techniques that you're going to be using? That also stems from your review of literature. Why did you use this particular research? Why are you choosing this particular sample? Why are you stopping with this particular area? Why are you not going beyond this particular area? So for everything, review of literature plays an important role, and hence it is really important that you carry it out in recognized, authorized, authentic and relevant sources of information, rather than just stopping with any kind of free sources of information. Do not look into do not just stop with academia or I think somebody is annotating. If somebody is annotating, you can just stop by mistake, probably. Yes. The organizers, are you here? I think somebody's annotating. Somebody's got the annotate thing. So if you can just stop it, it'll be fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you can search for the right sources of information, rather than just make use of whatever is available to you, like making use of ResearchGate and academia. It's a great source. We will talk about academia and ResearchGate and how it will help you in your research process itself a little later on as we proceed. But that is not the source where you will look for your to carry out your review of literature. To carry out a review of literature, please look into authorized and authenticated sources such as Emerald or Web of Science or Scopus. Scopus is a multidisciplinary database. Web of Science is a multidisciplinary database, not only indexing database, but also a what do you call it? It is also a citation database. So we will talk about all of this and how it has an impact on the research that we carry out itself. Of course, it's not only necessary to know what are the sources that you should search for. It is also equally necessary that you are aware of the search techniques. How are you going to carry out your search? What kind of, are you going to just do a natural language searching, or are you going to use certain keywords, and are those keywords going to be available? So be very, very careful, be very precise as to what you are looking for, so that you hit the right place and you are able to cull out as much as information as possible. The problem is that there is a lot of information that is available due to the online platform, and sitting at your home, you can, at the click of a finger, you can make use of all of these databases which are available. So what happens is that there is a chance that you miss and you try to look into some other irrelevant sources of information. So therefore, make sure that your search techniques are impeccable and you are able to search exactly, pinpointedly to the relevant sources of information that you are looking for. So that is the first step, and that is also a very important step. Like I told you, even at the end of it, we will be coming back to the review. So review is not over with just you're looking into 2 or 3 papers and you have gathered a summary of it, you have written a summary of it, you've paraphrased it and written it. So that is not just enough. Review is very, very important, because a review is something that helps you to support your research. Not only does it help you to identify your research problem, not only does it help you to identify the questions which arise or the gaps in literature, but also helps you to support your work. Why? why, support your data, support why you're doing this particular research. So that is possible if you're going to carry out a robust review, and this is the right step. So therefore, first step is your review. Do it in a proper, concise manner. Generally what happens is people think that their research is very good. I mean, of course, research is very good. I mean, our research process is very good. We do good research. So we are very confident about our research. So we just concentrate only on the research. And then finally we say, okay, review or knowledge paper in the related. That is a mistake. That is what will show when you are not able to get published in high impact factor journals or good journals. So that's the reason why you don't get published in good journals, because you're not connecting. Any kind of research has to have some connection with what has been done earlier. Okay, what has been done earlier and what is the future. So therefore there has to be some kind of a connectivity. So you have to give that connectivity, and that connectivity is possible when you're going to do a proper review of literature. Now, once you do the review of literature, the next thing is your research design. Okay, your research design. Now, what do I mean by research design? Research design is nothing but a blueprint of research. I'm sure all of you must be knowing what research design is. Research design is nothing but a blueprint of research. Okay, so you are trying to make sure that you do a step-by-step guide of how you want to carry out your research, so that you follow those steps to in your completion of your research. So you have a target, okay, and you fix your pathway to that particular target. That is what your research design is all about. Now, the research design also has to be really very clearly specified. Now, why we talking about literature review and then research design, and how does this have an impact on your publication, is because this is what the editors will be looking at. The editors will be looking at how is your research design. Is there any flaw in the research design? Is there a proper flow? Okay, is there a proper flow? Does it follow the steps? Is there a standardized method of doing things? What procedure have you followed? What methods have you used? What are the tools for data collection that you have used? What are the techniques that you have applied to analyze the data that you have collected? And how have you supported? Why have you used this particular technique and why not that particular technique? So how have you supported by the literature that you have actually literature search that you have carried out, or the review that you have done? How have you supported your research? So that is also very important. What were the questions that were raised? How are you raising those questions? Okay, what were the questions that were raised in the sense for the particular paper itself? What were the questions? What is the objective of this paper? How did you arrive at that objective? You may have an objective, but how do you arrive at that objective? So how did you arrive at this particular question? So what is the background that that helped you to arrive at this particular question? So all of this has to be clear, and it has to be specifically shown to the editor. I mean, to the person who's actually looking at your paper will look at all of these things. Okay, so therefore it has to be made very clear to him that you are clear in your mind. There is a clear-cut idea in your mind. You know what is happening in your mind. You are not confused. So this research design will help you to show or focus on the clarity in the concepts that you possess. Okay, you have been able to clearly explain or transfer your clarity to the editor himself, to the editor also. So that is very essential, as in when you are formulating the research design. And make sure that ma'am, there is somebody who's annotating, means they're able to
Yes, ma'am.
lines and all that. Just see. Yeah. Okay, so make sure that the research design will also help you to, of course, the research design is stemming from the literature review. So a good review will help you to write an excellent research design, will help you to formulate an excellent research design or the research proposal itself. So what are the topics that are active? What are the current topics? What are the topics that people are talking about right now? So there's no point of talking about something where nobody is really there in that particular arena. Not I want to do something totally different. Nobody is there. But then where will you get published if you're going to do something totally different? So therefore, you have to identify all of those areas also. What is the area which is hot topic right now? What is it people are talking about? So when you also join the bandwagon, then it is easier for you to create circles, to create niche groups where you can work together and, and come up with some new ideas, come up with some new answers to the questions which have been asked. Okay, so now why I have put over there at the end, like, do not work alone. Whenever you're doing a research design, whenever you're doing research, it is not advisable to work alone. Generally, I think all Indians, we prefer to work alone generally. Yes, right? What's the common opinion? How do we like to work alone? Most of the time, yes, definitely. Most of the time, we do like to work alone. We do not trust people. It's not like trust people. We think that this is my product of my brain in action. Why should I share it with everybody? Okay, so most of the time when we're writing a paper, we try to work alone. Not always is a great answer, but most of the time when we do research, we try to work alone. We try to do this particular work on our own. We want to do it on our own. We want to. It's not that we don't trust people. It's just that it's not a work. I want to do it on my own. I don't want anybody else to help me. Generally, even women here, even in the kitchen, they like to work alone. They don't want people to help them when they are cooking, or they don't want. My mother is like that. Okay, she never used to let me help her in the kitchen and all that. So she used to always work alone. And one of the reasons was that she used to be like, nobody should know her secret recipe as to how to work it. And then sometimes people used to think that நான் யோசிக்கிற மாதிரி என்னால எல்லாராலையும் யோசிக்க முடியாது. I cannot, the way I think, not everybody will think in the same way. So therefore, I prefer to work alone. Instead of teaching him or instead of telling him what I needed, so I myself want to do it on my own. Okay. So yeah, we feel like we want to be independent. Well, it's a very good thing to do that. But when you're looking for to get yourself published in a high impact journal, okay, you want to get yourself published in the journals which have high impact. So there they say that you don't work alone. Don't try to take all the stress on yourself and try to do everything on yourself. So try to form groups. So that's the next one I'm going to be talking about. Try to form groups. Okay, try to develop teams. Okay, I hope this is visible. Is the slide visible, Meena?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. So try to do the work together as a team. Try to do the work together as a team. Make sure that you form a group. Need not necessarily be with your people who you're working in that particular area, but probably in the same field, in the same area, in the same discipline. Okay, and preferably national groups, or collaborate with international authors or national authors. Initially, there might be a scare as to, am I good enough? You never know how good you are. Definitely, most of us, we underestimate a lot. We underestimate ourselves a lot. We think that maybe I am not as good enough. Okay, na avlo avanga level ku nammalaala panna mudiyuma apdi nammale we will underestimate ourselves. So that should not be there. Reach out for people, and for that only you have all these kind of sources which are there, which you have the ResearchGate, you have academia. Create a researcher ID for yourself. All of you, make sure that you create a researcher ID for yourself, like ORCID ID. There is something called as the ORCID ID, which is free to create. There is research, earlier it used to be called as research something, forgot, I can't remember right now, but right now it's called as Publons, which is brought out by JCR, by Web of Science. Okay, from Clarivate Analytics, Publons is being brought out. It was one of the first which came out. It was called as researcher ID. Yeah, okay, Publons was earlier called as researcher ID. So researcher ID is a good thing where you can connect with people, where you can connect with a lot of people. You have ORCID ID, you have Google Scholar also, where you can create groups. You have Mendeley. Okay, those who are aware of Mendeley as a reference manager software, you can create groups in Mendeley also. Apart from that, you have a lot of social networking tools also. We all of us are now on Facebook or Twitter, or any kind of social networking which is there today. So you create a group. We can create a group of people who are interested in the same area, who are working in the same area, who may have published earlier and who are looking for some more collaboration. So everybody is looking for some kind of collaboration. Look for collaboration. I would suggest not with other developing nations, but with developed nations. So don't go for other nations, like you don't have to go and collaborate with somebody from Sri Lanka or Pakistan or Bangladesh, those who are behind us. But try to collaborate from somebody who's ahead of us. Like you can collaborate with somebody from China or from US, or from, might be difficult in the beginning, but then you will be able to get the hang of it as you move ahead with it. So try to collaborate with people from different centers. So multi-center studies will have a high impact, and I'm sure that people who are on the science sides, okay, those who are on the science field, a lot of people on the science fields definitely do this. Okay, they do this, and they do get published. And I know a lot of my friends who collaborate with multi-centers, different centers from different countries, and they are able to publish. So you do one part of the research, and then the others do different part of research, and you share your data, and you publish a paper in a good high quality impact factor journal, which is available on an indexed source. Okay, which is available in the indexed source. Then it's a great thing to do. Instead of publishing about 10 articles, 20 articles per year. Okay, say I wrote 10 articles, I wrote 15 articles, or I have written about 100 articles. So there are people who I know who have done that also. And then finally they call me and they say, yeah, I need to publish in 1 or 2 impact factor journals. Can you tell me some impact factor journals where I can get myself published in? Okay, so therefore, think that the quantity is not necessary right now. Okay, the number of publications is not important. Where you get published is important. Even if you get one paper published in a high impact factor journal, your work is done. PhD students, how collaboration is possible? No, PhD students, you have to work. Right now, you're just starting off. I'm telling, this is for the future, the academic level people. For the PhD students, you are starting off. You have to collaborate with your guide. Your research guide will know, and you will be able to collaborate with other people where that particular research is happening in that particular field. Your research guide will be able to help you and will be able to tell you as to where and whom you can collaborate with. Yes, if you're doing your PhD, if you're doing a research, then your research guide is the best bet. You can check with them, and you can collaborate with the people who are there in that particular area itself. Even a PhD student can do it. If you are in your first level or mid level of your career like me, then I think I should start looking for people who are working in the same area where my interest lies, and talk to them and discuss with them, and then start publishing or collaborating with them and try to publish the articles, or try to bring out good quality articles. So first starting step is to write the article itself, and then the next step will be to get your self-published in a good higher impact factor journals. So first one is getting published in a impact factor journal itself, right? So like I told you, working alone is going to be very, very time intensive. It's going to take up a lot of your time, because you want to keep perfecting it. You want to keep perfecting it, and you want to do it all alone. You want to make sure that you are the only one who are perfecting it. So you're not taking effort, or you're not taking help from anybody else. So you are putting in all of the effort and doing it. So therefore it is time intensive, and often it is not very successful, because you don't know where you're going wrong. Sometimes we might the problem might be in the language in which we are expressing. We may not, English is not our native language, of course, definitely. So if you ask us to express it in our native language, it will be much better. We'll be really good at it. But when it is not our native language, then we do struggle. We're not able to express it the exact way what we would like to say. So that is a problem. Second thing is, we are not aware, or we are not given any kind of training in documentation or in scientific writing itself. So your research is excellent. There's no doubt about you doing your research. Everybody does their research in a beautiful manner, and their findings are really good. So the research is very good. The problem arises as in when we try to express it, or when we try to share it with the scholarly community, with the academic community. So that is where the problem arises. And because English is considered to be the nascent language or carrier language of the scientific process itself, so it becomes difficult for people whose native language is not English to get it published in that particular language itself. So that is another problem which is there, which we have to address. So you should know where your weakness lies. What is your weakness? What is it that you are not good at? And face that particular weakness. Do not run away from it. If you have a problem in writing, if you feel that I'm good in research, I have a problem in writing. If you feel that I'm good at everything else, but statistics is not my strong point, then you have a statistician with you right from the beginning. If you feel that you don't need statistics, but your work is good enough and it can speak for itself, then go ahead with it. So trust yourself, trust your instincts, and face your fears. That's also very, very important when you're going to be doing your writing your paper itself. So it's very important to face what is it that you're not good at, where is it that you are lagging, and how do you propose to overcome that particular lacuna that is there in your work. So like I told you, try to form research groups. Okay, so you have a lot of places where you can create an academic footprint, where you can start off, and there is a lot of weightage that is being given today to social media impact also. So earlier there was only your impact factors that is there. So you should look at the evolution itself. You should look at what is going to be the next thing. What is going to be the next thing? So like earlier times, it was enough if you just publish. If you're going to have one publication, if you're going to have any kind of number of publications that you have, that's really good. Your life is set. So nobody was checking the place where you were publishing it. Then came predatory journals, and people started talking about where are you going to get published and all that. And then there was UGC list, and then came something called as the impact factor journals. Now people are looking at the number of citations that you get in your publications itself. Now what will be the next step? Citations is one. Now what will be the next step? The next step, which has already come, is something called as the field of alt metrics, where citations alone is not being captured, but you're also capturing the number of events, or the number of times your paper has been discussed on the social media. How many times has your paper been discussed on the social media? How many people have discussed it on the social media? So that is also coming up, whereby you have alt metrics, you have Plumx, you have other those kind of metrics also, whereby how many people, how many legitimate discussions are actually being taking place on the social media regarding this particular research. There was a time books were earlier. Okay, so there was books. People used to buy books and then do their research and then get it published in a book. Then books became a very tedious, time. There was a long wait for us to prepare books and publish books, and for the books it took a long time for it to come out. Then there were journal articles, whereby you just about 10 pages of article, and then there were about multiple submissions, and we had so you had journal articles which took a lesser time than the books to get published. Now people are not ready to even wait for those that much of time, 6 months of time. No, they want immediate reaction for the work that they have done. So we are going on the social media. You're going on the social media side. So there's something called as Web 2.0, and people are talking about social media, about getting immediate responses. So we are going to the next level. Okay, so you have to be ready. You have to be ready to jump with all of those things. Of course, we are still behind, but still we need to jump with all of the kind of progress that is taking place in the scientific community. Okay, somebody is asking me about what a multi-study center means. Okay, it's not a multi-study center. Multi-center studies, in sense like what you're talking about, you have different centers. I mean, across the world. So you have different people, different centers. In the sense, we mean different universities, different academic centers where there are people who carry out their research in different places. So you need to connect with those people. Connect with people who are carrying out research from different places, not just universities. You can also collaborate with institutions. You can collaborate with corporate organizations. You can collaborate with study centers. I mean, like there are niche area study centers. So you can collaborate with those people also and bring out studies which are not just from one particular place, but from different places. So there are a lot of people, there are a lot of collaborators from different places, from different backgrounds, who give their inputs, and then and because of that, your paper becomes a richer paper in the sense richer in knowledge, richer in the kind of content that is have. So it is content rich rather than just sticking to one particular place. When you're getting it from different places, so it becomes multi-centered. So that is what we mean by multi-centered studies, whereby you have people collaborating from different centers who come together and who share information and are able to produce a paper which is content rich. And of course, yes, because it is multi-centered, because it has a lot of collaborators, it also helps you to improve your research. It improve your citations. The number of citations that you receive will also immensely improve. Another reason is when you are going to be quoting a particular when we're talking about literature search, I was talking to you about how you should select from a particular source. So when you're going to be using those sources in your references, then it also increases your chance of getting published in that particular journal itself. Okay, that it enhances your chance of getting published in that particular journal itself. We will talk about the indexes in the further down. Okay, so teamwork is another important thing. So right now we saw that how it is important to do a good review of literature. Okay, so you do a good review of literature from authentic, authorized sources, and then you take it forward and you build your research design. Make sure that your research design is really clear and concise, and it is not full of jargon words, but it can be communicated in a simple and understandable language. It has to be comprehensive. Okay, that is, it has to be understandable by the person who's going to be reading it. So that's very important. And finally, don't do work all alone. Don't think that, yeah, there is this particular fear, I think. People think that, if there are multiple authors, then the points will be split. But as an information scientist, let me tell you that there is nothing like, first author, second author and all that. Right now, all of the authors are will be given equal points for any kind of contribution that they do. So if there are about 200 authors for one single paper, yes, there have been more than 300, 400 authors also, scientific papers and all that. So when there are 300 or 400 authors also, each of those authors will receive 1 point each. So there's no point of saying that this is the first author, this is the second author, he receives so much points, as a third author he receives so much points. No, if you're an author and if you have given a particular paper and it has been published, then all of the authors receive 1 point each for that particular paper itself. So that was one of the concerns which people feel, and whereby people think that they should work alone. So stop working alone and try to get in, or try to contact people who are working in your area. Try to build a good network. Okay, try to build a good network. See, now when I'm telling you try to build a good network, it doesn't mean that, you build a network and let them do all the work and you keep quiet. No, your contribution has to be there, and only then they will include your name into that particular paper. So there has to be some kind of contribution from your end also. So that's important. Make sure that you contribute, and make sure that you're an active partner in the group that you are creating. So all of the major databases, major indexing databases, they allow for creating such kind of author profiles. So Scopus will help you to create an author profile. Publons, like I told you, it's from the Web of Science citation, sorry, Clarivate Analytics Web of Science. So they will also allow you to create your author index. All this is free. You don't have to pay them for anything. Okay, so creating a researcher ID or a Publons ID is free. ORCID ID is also free. So when you do this also helps in crediting all of your work into your name. So it's very easy to identify your H index, or identify your citations that you are receiving, or identify the kind of papers that you have published. So it becomes very easy to calculate the metrics. It allows it kind of overcomes any kind of problems that arise due to the ambiguation of names, or the affiliations that you are associated with. So all of that can be avoided if you're going to do create an ID for yourself, right? Okay, so there's one question. Last month I published paper in Elsevier, but it's rejected. You can find some other. Yeah, yes, we will address this question, Sindhuja, at the end of the session. I mean, I will be addressing rejections also, and the reasons for rejection. We will address that particular question too, right? So once you finish that, once you are with the teamwork, obviously you are able to prepare a better paper. Now, what's important is drafting the manuscript. Okay, drafting the manuscript. Like I told you in the beginning itself, the research is impeccable. Okay, nobody's going to question the kind of research that you do, that all of us do. I think that all of us are great researchers, and we have great minds. We are really good thinkers, and we do good research. Only thing, the problem is when we communicate that particular research. So that is the flaw which we have. Okay, so we identify the flaw. So the research is very good, and the results are also fabulous. But we do not know how to communicate these results. How do you write? How do you write a paper? When you're going to write a paper, how do you write a paper? Never start off your paper with the introduction part or anything like that. Never start off, with all of these things. What is it that you should write first? First thing, what you should write after you finish your, your research, after you've carried out your research, is you have to write your methods and results first, because you have already done it, you have done this, you have already completed it, you have done your research, so you know what methods you have employed. But I mean methods, I mean to say, what are the tools that you have employed? Okay, what are the tools that you have used to carry out your research, and what are the techniques that you have used to analyze the results for that particular research? Like, if you have used certain checkpoints or statistical analysis, or if you have had some kind of what do you call it? Okay, I'm not getting the exact word. Like, if you have right, we'll skip that. Okay, so you write down the methods. What are the data collected? How was the data collected? What was the sample? How did you choose the sample? Was there a pilot study conducted? How did you arrive at the target population, and then from the target population, how did you cull out the sample? How did you choose the sample? How did you go ahead and collect data? Okay, how did you disperse the questionnaires or observation or whatever, or the particular exercise of your experiment itself? So whatever you carried out, how did you do it? Okay, so you can write that, because so first you write that. So methods first, and then the results. Results is nothing but the inference, finding whatever you have found. Like for example, this particular I carried out this particular experiment, and this is what happened. So findings, findings results. Okay, so you're just writing your methods and the results first. Results is totally different from discussion, which is also very, very, very important for a research paper. Most of us skip it, but it should not happen. So you have your results. Results are the findings. The other one is the findings or the inferences. Inferences na whatever nama enna paakromo adu nama eludrom. Whatever we see out of the data that we have collected and we have analyzed, whatever we see or whatever we view, we write that down. That is called as an inference or the finding. Apart from the inference and finding, what is important is the discussion and the interpretation. Discussion and interpretation with the review of literature that has already been done. So that is the next part. So we'll come back to that later. So first part, what you have to write is your methods and results, which is very simple because you have done it. Whatever you have done, just write it down. Whatever you have found, whatever you get from your tables and figures and your numbers or quantity and qualitative analysis, whatever you do, whatever you find, write down. Just jot that down. That is your methods part and your results part. So that is ready now. Okay, your methods and results part is ready. Now, from this methods and results part, write an abstract. Prepare an abstract. An abstract is the most important part of your research paper. Okay, one of the most important part of your research paper, and you write it first. Write the abstract first. Now, in the abstract, what will you be doing? You will be talking about, what is this research all about? Okay, what is this research all about? Why have you carried out this research? Okay, so most of the people, remember that most of the people are going to only read your abstract. What do you do? What do we do when we look at an article? We don't start reading the article as it is, right? First thing which we do is we will look into the abstract. We read the abstract and we try to understand what is this article talking about? What is this work actually going to talk about? So that's what we do. So same thing for your research also. So first thing that you have to get prepared with, or first thing that you have to keep in mind is this abstract is what people are going to read. Throughout, all your readers are going to read this abstract. So how should you write your abstract? How should this abstract be? What are the things that should be included in this abstract? Okay, what are the items that should be included in the abstract? Abstract should be standalone in the sense that it should be self-explanatory. Okay, so it should be self-explanatory. Make sure that you give a proper summary of the research and conclusions, state the objectives, how you have done it, describe what are the methods that you are using to used to do your research. Okay, don't give the entire conclusions. Okay, don't give the entire results. Just give a little bit of the result. Just give a little bit of the result so that you kind of kindle the interest in the people to read more on your paper. So what are the most important finding? Okay, the most important finding in your research. So you just give a gist of it. Give a gist of it so that people find it interesting to read your paper. So the abstract shouldn't be of a lot of irrelevant items. Okay, it should be very relevant, very crisp, very concise. Okay, and very simple. Don't use too many jargon words. People will not understand and they will not read it. If you think that it's very cool to use jargon, persa words, technical words, people won't even understand. It's really uncool. Okay, it's really uncool. People won't understand it. The more you keep it simple, the more you keep it relatable to people. Okay, relatable to people who don't even know anything about this particular subject. That is when your research becomes better. Okay, this thinking that sometimes people think that the more jargons you use, the more technical words you use, it becomes really cool. No, it doesn't. Okay, so research is as cool, as simple as possible. Keep the research as simple as possible so that people are able to understand, and when they understand, they will try to read more onto your paper. They will want to read more into your paper. So refrain from usage of any of the jargons. Give only a gist of the results that you have. Avoid any kind of abbreviations, okay, acronyms or any kind of references. So references, in-text references, do not bring that into the abstract. Very simple, a kind of a summary which of your work that you have done. So this abstract is what is going to be communicated to the editor, okay, first initially. So the editor is going to be happy, about how or why he should publish your article. So therefore the abstract has to be very, very concise and simple. Now, once after you draft your abstract, next thing which is more important, one of the most important things which we are coming to is choosing the right journal. How do I select the right journal? There are so many journals out there. So how do I select the right journal? How do I identify which is the journal that is the right place? So somebody asked just now, Sindhuja was asking as to, I sent my article and it was rejected because they said that this journal is not the right one. So how do I select the right journal? So this is a big problem which a lot of researchers face. So you have to identify, think, what is the focus of your work? Who are the people who are going to be interested in your work? Where are the articles similar to your work? Where have they been published? What is the time period? How long will it take to get published, with this particular work? So that's very important. And then now, recently, what the question that you have to ask is whether this particular journal, is it included in the UGC care list? I hope you are all aware of the UGC care list. So whether this particular journal is included, is it there in the care list? Suppose I publish and then people like Sindhuja who's doing a PhD, okay, so she publishes and then finally when she's going to submit, they say that no, this is not care list journal, so you cannot submit your PhD. You have to go back, get yourself published in a recognized journal, and only then you can submit your PhD. Yes, that's a rule which is there right now. So how do you identify all these things? What do we mean by impact factor, and how do you know which is the right thing? Who is the right source? Who gives the impact factor? So how do you identify? So all of these questions plague a lot of academicians, a lot of researchers who find it, tough. See, the research pandrathu romba easy. It's easy to do research, but getting that research results published in a good journal becomes a headache today. Yes, becomes a big problem today. So therefore, how do I overcome this? How do I differentiate between peer-reviewed and a predatory journal? So my problem is not doing research. Not mine, everybody's, all of our researchers' problem. The problem is not doing research. The problem is getting all of this, the work that you have done. How do you organize it in the right manner, and how do you make sure that you get yourself published in a recognized journal, in a peer-reviewed recognized journal? So that is why you have to carry out your review properly. If you're going to carry out your review properly, you're going to choose the right kind of journals for your review. You can send your article to those journals itself. If you're going to choose the right journals for review, then you can send your article to be published in that particular journal itself. So that is that connection should be there, which we miss out. We never have a connection between review and publication. Nobody taught us that way. So therefore, it is very important that wherever you're going to carry out your review paper, okay, those journals are your perfect journals where you can actually send your paper, your research paper also to those particular journals to be published. Now, steer clear of all of these predatory journals. What are predatory journals? There are a lot of predatory journals which are available today, whereby they ask you for a minimum amount of money, or they give you some kind of offer, and they get your articles published in these journals. It's very easy to get published in the predatory journals. Of course, initially the list was brought out by a person called as Jeffrey Beal. Okay, so there are a lot of criteria which are available today to identify the predatory journals. There's something called as the Beal's list, which you can just Google it out and you will be able to get the Beal's list. He also gives you a criteria, a one-page criteria to determine whether this particular journal is a predatory journal or not. So where, what you should ideally look for is look at the editorial board. Who is the editorial board? Are you aware of the people in the editorial board? Are they experts in the field, in the said field? Are they experts in the said field? Are they people who are just going to ask you money and get your article published without any kind of review? It sounds good. Okay, nobody's going to ask me a question. Whatever I have done is perfect. Okay, it sounds good, but there's no purpose. Okay, any kind of journal article, if it is going to be published, okay, there has to be some kind of a critical analysis for that particular article, because it's going to be preserved for posterity, and this is something based on which people are going to carry out new research, right? So it cannot be duplicated, it cannot be one which doesn't have ethics. So all of that is also very, very equally important when you're going to get yourself published. So don't be afraid of people raising questions, of people asking you critical questions, because they are necessary. They are necessary. So sometimes, you know, people think that if you question somebody, then you know, you are trying to put them down. No, it's not that you're trying to put them down. You're trying to enhance some kind of a meaningful conversation. You're brainstorming. The moment you ask question, you're brainstorming. You're making people think. You're making them to answer, right? So that is what you should think of. You should think of, somebody's going to ask you a question, then it's good if there is going to be editorial team, and if that editorial team is going to vet your article, okay, vet your article, look through your article, and you know, they find out mistakes from your article, then that's a good thing, because they're pointing out your mistakes, and you can correct your mistakes. So that's very important. And some of these journals actually claim a lot of things which they are not. Okay, so do not fall for any kind of false metrics. Okay, so they claim, like I have just given a list of, you know, all of the metrics together over here. You can see here some of them claim TIF factor, technical impact factor, global impact factor, journal quality. It has an impact factor of 10. It has an impact, something like that. They just claim things like that. So these are some of the examples which I've given here, but they claim a lot of things which they are not. Okay, so that when will you be able to understand that this is not the right impact factor? When you are really aware of what the right impact factor is. So the right impact factor is actually brought out by the citation databases. Okay, citation databases, which are the Web of Science. I think this probably might not. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, the citation databases, which is brought out by the Web of Science group, which is brought out by Clarivate Analytics. Earlier it was under Thomson Reuters, and now it is under Clarivate Analytics. So Web of Science, they bring out something called as the Journal Citation Report. So you can see here JCR, Journal Citation Reports. Now this JCR is what gives your impact factor. Okay, the impact factor of the journal. Okay, which we speak about, that is the quality index for a particular journal itself. The impact factor of the journal is actually given by the journal citation reports. Now, what do we mean by impact factor and how is it calculated? It is calculated based on the number of citations that are being received to articles published in that particular journal. Okay, I am repeating. So impact factor is calculated by the number of citations that are received, okay, to the articles that are published in that particular journal itself. So citations, how do they calculate? How do they call out the citations? So for all, you know, to calculate the number of citations or to call out the citations, it's important that the article is also published in an indexed journal. Suppose it is not published in an indexed journal, then how do you call out the article? Suppose you're getting yourself published in a predatory journal, then how your citations will be calculated? It won't be calculated. And another flaw of publishing in a predatory journal is that you cannot retract your article. You cannot retract it back. So you cannot take it back. It will be there. Okay, and it raises a huge question on, you know, where you have got yourself published. So that is a problem. So you have to be very, very careful about it. So impact factor is only brought out by journal citation reports, nobody else. Okay, the term impact factor was also brought out by them. It was actually a term that was given by Eugene Garfield, who is also known as the father of citation indexing. So he was a person who brought out the term impact factor and brought out the term impact factor, and that is only to the journal citation reports. Only journal citation reports can bring it out. Yes, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You're audible.
Yeah. Yes, so similar to that, you have something called as the scopus. Okay, the scopus brings out something called as site scope. They bring out something similar, but it is a little different. Okay, they bring out something called as site score. Now, site score again is calculated based on the number of citations that are received to the journals that are indexed in the scopus database. The journals that are indexed in the scopus database. So let's just look at what are the other things that the journal citation report brings out. So these are some of the other things which the journal citation report brings out. out. Like, they also bring out, they are responsible for the number of citations which are there. They're responsible for the impact factor, immediacy index, cited half-life, lot of things they bring out. They bring out a lot of things, of course, but this is not a free source. It is a proprietary source. This is another question which is there, whether open access versus these kind of proprietary sources, and whether all of open access is predatory. No, not all of open access is predatory. So there is a group who work towards bringing out open access journals itself. So that's a totally different topic. Maybe some other time we will talk about that topic also. But here, if you're going to look at impact factor, the impact factor has to be given by journal citation report. And nowadays, I think Web of Science does include a lot of open access journals also, for which they have they do calculate the impact factor. But this is not a free source. And the previous, older impact factor can be visible, or it can be seen from the web page of the journal site itself. Okay, so you can see that from the journal site itself. So what is impact factor? What do we mean by impact factor? So like I told you, it is JCR impact factor. Okay, not anything else. Journal citation report, Web of Science, and brought out by Clarivate Analytics. So this is what you should be very clear of. So this impact factor is what is the authentic impact factor. So it is calculated by the number of citations. I hope you know what citations are and how citations are culled out. Citations are actually culled out based on the references that appear at the end of the research article. So I'm sure at the research article, you will have a lot of, you have the title, you have the introduction, you have the objectives, you have the literature review, you have the methods, then you have the results, and then the discussion. And at the end of it, you have the references, whereby you try to give back to, or you try to provide links as to from where or how have you done this research itself. So those references are very important, and they have to be given in a particular style manual, using a particular style manual. So I'm sure that you are aware of it, or maybe you can contact Meena, and Meena will probably give you a little bit more on what references mean. You can talk to the librarian at your college. Okay, so the number of citations that are received by the articles published in a journal over a fixed period of time, so a particular period of time. Like for example, I'm just giving here for the period 2010, it is calculated 2 years prior to it. It is calculated 2 years prior to it. So the number of citations received in the year 2008 and 2009 divided by the number of citable items. What do we mean by citable items? Not everything that is published in the journal, but only the citable items. Like you have sometimes editorial review, or you have letters to the editor, which are also there in the journal article. So which are also available in the journal. Not those, excluding those, only the articles. That's why they say citable items. Okay. So only the journal articles. So number of journal articles that are published in 2008 to 2009. So that is how the impact factor is calculated. It's backdated, predated. Why 2 years window is given? Why the 2 year window is given is so that it gives time, so that after the article has been published, okay, you need time for it, right? You need time for people to read it, and then they themselves have to get it published, and the references have to come. So therefore there is this time period only after which you are going to be calculating your impact factor. And the impact factor can only be calculated if they are published in indexed sources, okay, peer reviewed indexed sources. If not on indexed sources, then how can you call out the references? So that kind of thinking that you should have. So நம்ம publish பண்றது எங்க publish பண்ண போறோம்? So that the references should be able to be culled out. Okay, only if they are going to be culled out, you will be able to make use of it. Now people are asking me what H index is. I will talk to you about this. So there are a lot of other indexes also, so maybe that not now, but anyway, you can look at that. Apart from the impact factor, if your journal doesn't have the impact factor, okay, and if you're not able to find out the impact factor, probably you can go to this site. You can go to the SkyMago journal rank site. SCIMAGO, SkyMago journal rank site, which is brought out by Elsevier, and it is mostly all of the journals which are recognized and which are peer reviewed are included in this particular source. And this gives the journal ranking. This gives the ranking, not the citation, but this gives the ranking of that particular journal itself, quarter wise. So there are about 4 quartiles based on which they bring out the journal rank. So you can see if that particular journal which you are selecting is listed under this. Either it should be listed in the master list of the Web of Science database, or Scopus, or SkyMap. Now Scopus is also, there is a problem. Okay, there's a problem because people sometimes, they just say listed in Scopus or a screenshot mattum they will put. But if you search the Scopus database, that particular journal will not be available. So what they do is they make use of Scopus is inclusive database compared to the Web of Science database. So Scopus database, you'll have something called as the site score. So you can just click on the site score and see if that particular journal has any site score or not. If it says NA, and if the year in which it has been added is just 2020, then I think you should stay clear of that particular journal. Do not get published in that particular journal, because anytime that particular journal will be removed from the database. So even the process of when adding to the database, that particular journal name will be available, but it need not be a good journal itself. Now people ask me about H-index. So H-index is nothing but a kind of a quality indicator for the author. Just like how the impact factor is a quality indicator for the journals. I mean, for the journal itself. I know a lot of people, I think it's because they're not information scientists, okay, and they do not know how to make use of it. So they say that let's calculate the impact factor for the college, for the institution, for the organization. It's not that easy to do that, okay. So you really need to have access to those kind of databases. You need to have access to the publisher database. Only then you will be able to calculate the impact factor of the institution itself. It's not possible to calculate. Same way H-index also, it is not possible to calculate your H-index on your own, because you are not aware of who has cited you. You're not aware of all of the articles that are citing you. Are you? You cannot be. It is the publisher who will have the access to it. It is the conglomerates, these kind of agencies like the Web of Science or Emerald, or all these kind of the people who amalgamate all of the journal articles together. So those are the people who will have access to that kind of data. You and I will not have access to that kind of data. So I have no idea, as in I write a paper, I will have no idea as in how many people have cited. Suppose my paper has been published in the Web of Science database, then I can calculate the H-index, okay, H-index, which is based on the number of citations that you receive. So H-index is based on the number of citations that you receive over a particular period of time, okay, not only over a particular period of time, but also it is distributed with the number of papers that you receive. So like, for example, number of papers that you have done. So for example, if you have just written one paper, okay, and that one paper has about 100 citations that it received, your H-index will only be 1. Okay, your H-index will only be 1. It won't be 100. It will only be 1, because it actually calculates based on the number of papers as well as the number of citations received. So it's not just the number of citations, but both number of papers as well as the number of citations received. So there is a kind of a flaw in it, and people do accept there is a crossroads where some people accept it, some people do not accept it. So so you can see here. So suppose there number of papers there are about 7 papers, and number of citations arranged in the decreasing order. When you arrange it in the decreasing order, you can see one paper has received about 145 citations, second paper only 75, third paper 26, fourth paper 15, fifth paper 11, sixth paper only 5. So the place where number of papers and number of citations become equal, okay, so that becomes your citation number, your H-index. So therefore the H-index here will be 5. The H-index here will only be 5 because 6th paper has received only 5 citations. Below that it is lower. Okay, it's lower. So 6. So number of papers and the number of citations should be somewhat equal. Only that will be the H-index, and therefore people don't really calculate it in that particular manner. And to contradict that, you had the G-index, where G-index is the square of the number of it takes the square. Instead of giving the direct this thing, it talks about the square, G square of the citations that have been made use of. Or you have the I-10 index, which is brought out by Google Scholar again, okay, which talks about the number of publications that have at least 10 citations. But again, I-10 index is not really acceptable by the scholarly community, because sometimes you do not have, Google Scholar includes a lot of open access journals also. Some of the predatory journals are also included sometimes, okay, sometimes. So therefore it is not really well accepted in the academic community. It's not yet accepted. It's still on the process. Now, what are the ways in which you select journal. So this is when we're talking about the impact factor, we're talking about technically about what determines the quality of the journal itself. Now keeping that apart, how else do I search? Is there an easier way of searching for journals? See, as it is, I'm sitting and spending so much of my time and doing a lot of work, doing my research itself. Now, do I have to sit and work on selecting the journal also? There are certain tools here which are pretty good tools, where you can just click on any of these links here. I've given it as a link, but anyway, you can make note of it. So you have something called as Chain, which is nothing but journal author name estimator. You have Journal Finder from Elsevier. You have Journal Suggester from Springer, Find My Journal, Cofactor Journal. You have Edance Editing. Edance Editing is pretty much a great source which as a college, as an institution, as an organization, you can procure for a year or something. Of course, all of these do cost some amount of money. A few of them are free. Like Jane is free. It is for biomedical sciences. So if you're in psychology or life sciences psychology, life sciences, counseling psychology. So all of those things you can use Jane. Elsevier, STM. For STM, you have Elsevier. For the social science. Social science is the more difficult one. Okay, so I think for that you can use Flourish OA, Think, Check, Submit. You can also use Edance Journal Guide. Okay, you can use all of them. All of them do have for different subjects, for all the other subjects, but predominantly it is for STM, because that is what runs. Right, so that is what there is more research that is being published in this particular area, that is science, technology, and medicine, than on social sciences. And collaboration is also very high in the STM field, in the STM branches, rather than in social sciences, because social sciences we always feel that what is here, what happens in my community is totally different from your community. So there's not much of collaboration that takes place in social sciences, but it should be encouraged. You should be encouraged to take up more of collaborative work in social sciences, so that it can become you become visible. Okay, you become visible in the sense that you publish more in indexed journals, so your visibility is high. The higher the visibility, the better the chances of getting more citations and getting yourself published in a better journal. So you can search for these journals. So all of these sources will help you to will suggest, or will show you the journals which have an impact factor. Like I'll just show you Edance Editing. I can just show it to you right now. Just let me know if you can view my screen. Are you able to view the screen?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay, great. Thank you. So you can see this Edance Journal Selector. You can see here it has about more than 23,000 journals. And
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt, but the web page you are opening, it's not shared. Only the presentation is shared.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see this web page now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So this is for Edance. Okay, Edance. Now this is a great site because it also helps in English editing. So if we have any kind of a problem in writing, okay, in the research writing itself, and you want to change something, or when you're doing your review of literature, your English is not great, and you would like to change the structure of the language or structure of the sentences or something like that, you can make use of this particular tool too. Now you can click here. You can see general, by journal name, by publisher, by field of study, by abstract. I would suggest do an abstract study. Abstract, if you have already written an abstract, just click here and put the abstract, and you will be able to get the perfect journal where you can get yourself published in. So what I will do now is I'll just give an example, like for say library sciences. Okay, so I'm just giving an like keyword kind of thing. Let me just search. Okay, it didn't. So it's a very, very broad idea. That means, so abstract, you have to give a proper abstract. Maybe I'll just say general, and I'll just show you. Okay. Okay, so you can see this You can see the results, all of you. Can you see the results which are there?
Yes, ma'am. Be able to see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so you can see that the result, there are about 500 results only at one particular point. But if you see the result itself, you can see it comes with impact factor, low impact factor year, which year, and is it indexed? SCIE means Science Citation Index expanded. Okay, expanded. So that it is one of the databases in the Web of Science database itself. So Web of Science is it includes 3 databases: the Science Citation Index expanded, the Social Sciences Citation Index (SSCI), and the Arts and Humanities Index (ANHI). Okay, so it shows where it is, whether it is available in that particular database. Now, if it is available in, if it is available in that particular database, that means it is also there in your UGC care list. You don't even have to go and look for anywhere else. If it says no, SCI no, then it is not available. You're not sure whether this is available in the UGC database or not, and you will have to look at it. You'll have to search for which indexing source it is available in. So you can also sort by impact factor, high or low. You can sort by the lowest to the highest. So you can do a lot of things here. You can search. So you may wonder, Library Information Studies, why does it show Cancer Journal? Probably 1 or 2 articles on information studies, or people who have contributed from information studies have also collaborated together in that particular article. So that's what it means. So it talks about collaboration. So this is a great source to search for journals, to identify journals in that particular field itself. So you can make use of these kind of journal selector tools. Okay, I'm running out of time, so I'll just come as soon as possible. So you can make use of that. And the other thing which you should remember is plagiarism. Stay clear of plagiarism. So, references is one thing which they look for, the journal editors. What they also look for is they do not want any kind of plagiarized content. And if they find any kind of plagiarized content or very poor form of documentation, poor writing form, like, if you do not cite your work appropriately and where it is necessary, and if you do not have the skills to paraphrase the the review of literature that you have done, then it's going to reflect badly on your work itself. So quote when necessary, make sure that you are aware of your citation styles. Okay, what are the styles that are required, and cite your sources appropriately wherever necessary. Make sure that you give your in-text citations. So this is something which we usually miss out on, in-text citations. Everybody does references at the end of the paper, but then you miss out on the in-text citations. That is, where exactly are you using this particular paper? Where exactly have you used this particular work from? Okay, so in-text citations are also equally necessary, and you have sources for that. You have something called as the Mendeley, you have EndNote, you have a lot of sources, you have a lot of reference management tools which help you with rendering citations itself. So you name the kind of citation that you want, click on the that citation style, and it is done immediately at the click of the finger. You don't have to sweat much. Make sure you use anti-plagiarism software. Whenever you are in doubt, of course, it's your work. You know what you're doing. You know where you have taken from. You know how much of it is allowed, how much of it you have copied from somewhere. You know it. So because you have done it. So if you are wherever you are in doubt, you make sure that you use the anti-plagiarism software. Unnecessarily, you don't have to use it. So you have a lot of anti-plagiarism software which is available. Turnitin, Authenticate are commercial softwares. You have free softwares which is like DupliChecker. You have CopyLeaks. You have Plagiarism Checker. You can register and get 1 or 2 checks free. I would not suggest you to upload anything, but you can get a check and you get it free. The other thing is, once you have now done your paper, you have finished your paper, you've written your paper, the next thing is, of course, you have to write it according to the IMRD style, which is introduction first, then your methods, then your results, and then your discussion. So it has to adhere to it. Of course, you can add on whatever, you can add on your objectives, you can add on scope and coverage, you can add the tools and techniques and all that. But on the whole, generally, most of the journals, they follow this particular style. That is the introduction, methods, research, and then discussion, introduction, discussion, big part. And they, you do that, you write that after you choose the journal, you write the introduction and the discussion part, because you're trying to relate to the policy or relate to the statement of the journal itself. What is the journal? What is the work of the journal? What is it that it aims to do? So you relate with the objectives of the journal. That is how you will be able to get yourself into the publication. So therefore, letter to the editor. After you finish that, letter to the editor is also equally important. Don't just write your abstract and submit it to the editor in the letter to the editor. Make sure that you know who the editor is, okay? Or you try to greet them by their name when you're writing a mail to them, and you have to make sure that you sell your paper. Okay, you sell your paper in the sense, sell the content of your paper. Make sure that you tell them that how important it is and how it should get published, and be very careful. Okay, be very meticulous in your planning. What editors don't like, okay, most of the time is it is not rejected because of the research work. Okay, because of the kind of work that you have done. Most of the time it is rejected because of the lack of meticulousness. Okay, because of the lack of interest that the authors show. You multiple submissions. You send the article to many journals at the same time. So don't think that the editors will not know. The editors will be the same people in a particular group of journals. So therefore, they will come to know about the multiple submissions. So don't do that. And same way, make sure that there are, I'm sure that whenever you submit to a journal nowadays, it is always on the online mode, and there are something called as guidelines to the authors, right? There are manuscript guidelines, there are guidelines to the authors. Read it, reread it, put it in your mind before you prepare your paper. Okay, so look at the way in which they want your paper. Okay, understand the way in which they want your paper. Put some effort into it. If you're not doing it, hire somebody to do it. Okay, make sure that you do that particular work. Okay, make sure that you document your work properly. It's not necessarily enough that your work is good. It is also important that you know how to document that work. Okay, so it's important to document the work that you have done in the proper format in which the journal editor wants it, the journal wants it itself. Okay, don't make silly mistakes, like in addressing the author or in addressing the journal. Don't say that I prepared it for that particular journal and I sent it for this particular journal. Don't do such kind of things. Don't make it make sure that the letter is not too short. Hi, find my paper attached. Okay, don't send something like that. So you're academicians and you belong to a particular group, a responsible group. So make sure that you show it. Okay, do not repeat, like I told you, do not repeat the abstract. Focus on the aspect of the research that should interest the editor. So bring his interest in. You have to make sure that you have to bring his interest in. It is cutthroat competition. There is huge competition to get published. There are so many people who want to get published, okay, across the world. So how are you going to make your paper better than the rest of them? So that's what it is. How will you do that? By specifying how your research fits the bill, how your research is exactly apt for this particular journal. And that can be done when you are writing your discussion and your introduction part along with the objectives of the research. What is the objective of the research? How are you choosing your journal? Okay, and then according to that you write your prepare your paper, and then it becomes easier. Okay, right. Next one, submitting the manuscript. Yes, like I told you, mostly online. Follow the rules, stick to the rules, reference styles. Most of the time, do not follow the reference styles. Okay, they try to, நான் இப்படிதான் எழுதிருக்கேன், இப்படிதான் நான் சப்மிட் பண்ணுவேன். Okay, பண்ணா பண்ணிட்டு போறான், இல்லாட்டி I don't mind. இதெல்லாம் இருக்க முடியாது. You have to follow the referencing styles. If they tell you that I want it in this particular style, you have to send it in that particular style. You sending it to a different, it has been rejected and he doesn't want it there, and you are sending it to a different journal. Change your article again, change the style, change what according to that particular journal, change it. Spend some time to do it. Like I told you, it is better than publishing 10 articles. Okay, if you're going to publish 10 articles in journals that are not worth your time, okay, that doesn't make any difference. Even if you publish one article that is worth your time and has got itself published in a high impact factor journal, then you're set. Okay, you're set for the future. And once you do it, once you have already done it, then the next time becomes very easy for you. So it's only in the beginning when you will find it'll be tough. So rejections, why do rejections take place? Okay, why do rejections take place? Most of the time because it doesn't fall under the scope and coverage of the journal. So that means you have not read the scope and coverage, or you have not aligned your research to suit the scope and coverage of the journal. Always, I mean, this is a basic thing. Okay, even when you're going to submit a research proposal to any particular agency, you have to make sure that you understand the policy or the objectives of that particular agency and suit or frame your role, you don't have to do research according to them. Research you do according to how you want to do. Okay, all your findings, let it be according to what you have found. But when you're discussing, when you're interpreting, okay, then those interpretations must be aligned to the objectives of that particular agency. Okay, so that it's easy for them to also say, okay, nama area la edo pandrapa, fine, let's take him in. Okay, so you have to make sure that you convince them that you are on their path, or you're adding some kind of value to their publication. So that's what they should feel. If it is under review at another journal, then also it can be rejected. The writing is incomprehensible, that is, it's unintelligible. Okay, it's not understandable. Your grammatical errors are there. Somewhere you have written it in past tense, somewhere present tense, somewhere future tense. So those things, make sure that you put in effort to clear it off of all of those things. Okay, doesn't conform to the writing style of the journal. That's why I said read the instructions, repeat it, and then make sure that you send it according to the style of that particular journal. The standard, the quality of that particular journal. Okay, right? Your paper should adhere to the quality of the journal itself. Don't send something very simple and very basic to that particular journal, which is a bit more complex, or where they are dealing with complex issues. And if you're going to send something very incompetent or very, very basic, then that's not going to be really helpful to the research itself. One second, please. Nothing is here. Okay, suppose the foundation of research is not properly explained. Okay, like for example, if you are not able to tell, or you're not able to confirm with why this research has been taking place, or why have you started, or why are you doing this particular research, what is the question that you're addressing, what is the problem that you're addressing, did you have the vision from the beginning itself? So this is why the design is important. Your research, your blueprint is important. Okay, did you have that in the beginning? No, not there. So therefore that is another thing. Then numbers do not match, discrepancy in the work that you have done. Okay, so all of this will also lead to your rejection. There are a lot of reasons why they can reject. Okay, but there has to be some convincing reason why they should accept. So focus on the convincing reason where they should accept. And suppose you have been rejected, then what do? Don't be egoistic. Okay, don't think about getting rejected. Okay, don't think about getting rejected. Forget about him rejecting you or saying no to you. Okay, don't take it so personally. Okay, it is a journal article that you have written. Mistakes happen, and learn to accept those mistakes and learn from those mistakes. Try to figure out why has it been rejected, what is the reason. Okay, don't say that who is he to ask me a question, how can he reject my work, how can he say no to me. Never. Find out what is it. Okay, he has said no to me. What is it that I can make it better? What is it that I've gone wrong on? Where can I sharpen myself? So learn from the mistakes that you have made and keep trying, keep writing. And if they want you to respond back with the changes, then you respond back. You give it back to them. Okay, make the changes which they are asking you to make, and then respond back. Unless it is to the entire core of your paper itself. Okay, if there are some minor changes which they want you to make it and respond back to them, and keep trying. Rome was not built in one day. Remember that. So therefore, you have to keep trying again and again and again till you succeed. So you have to work according to that. So thank you so much, and I'll be very happy to take any questions. And I'm sorry if I've exceeded the time limit. I'd like to end with this. A day of bad writing is always better than a day of no writing. So remember that, and try to write whenever possible. Thank you so much, people.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll stop my sharing. If we have any questions, we can take it. Thank you for all the wonderful comments that have been coming in. Thank you so much. Meena, do we have time to take in? I would also like to thank all the organizers for having us today, and all the participants for being so patient for the 1.5 hours which we had so far. I never knew the time. I don't know if you people knew the time.
Ma'am, you can carry on.
Ma'am,
Yes,
God.
yes.
Please
Yes,
start.
sir.
Ma'am, I'm calling from Karnataka.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your presentation is very nice, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
But I having a little bit doubts.
Yes, sir.
Now we can know the impact factor for the online journals.
How we can find the impact factor for?
Online journals concern. Anyway,
Yes.
we are submitting an article, then we can understand this is the impact factor for our article.
Yes.
But if we have already published in earlier one, in hard copy one, how we can know that the impact factor, madam?
Sir, actually, impact factor is brought out by the agency called as Web of Science. Clarivate
Yes.
Analytics, Web of Science. They are the people who bring it out. If it is
Yes.
a hard copy edition, and if that particular edition exists in the Web of Science database, then you can find the impact factor.
Yes, madam. Thank
If
you.
it
Thank you.
If it does not exist in the Web of Science database, then it is not possible to actually calculate the impact factor. But impact
Yes.
factor is available in the Web of Science database from 1906, because they have journals, they have it from 1907. From 1907, they have a lot of journals which are there, which are housed there. So even the digitized format is available.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us from Karnataka.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Hello, madam. This is Padmavati from E-Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have two questions. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers and yourself too for this wonderful presentation.
Yes,
I have two questions. If there are one more editor in chief for the particular channel, can I submit 2 letters for each of them? That you have specified, you should we should accost the editors with their name.
If there are, oh, okay. You mean to say if there are 2 or more editors, then how do I specify, right?
1 or more editors.
1 or more editors. If there are 1 or more editors, then you can say dear editors or dear the person's name itself. But when you say the person's name, then it becomes very personal. So that is why we say that you will that particular person's
Yeah,
name.
that I can understand. But
if there are more, generally in a particular subject, there will be, if there is a journal, then there will be editors from different subjects. So whoever is a person who's from your subject, from your related area, probably you can mention that person's name.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Like for example, if there is me, and if there is some, if there is Shanti ma'am or somebody else who's from the botany department, okay, and you are from botany, then probably you should address her name because she is from botany.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am. And I have one more question. And some journals are giving embargo period. What does it mean? Actually, I don't have idea. Embargo period.
Embargo period is for the time it takes to actually get yourself published. Okay, the time it takes to publish. Like you have a time between which between the publication being available on the platform, on the what do you say, on the digital platform, and before it is being published. There is a time before it gets published, and the previous what do you say? It's like a not a white paper.
Ma'am, actually, I came to know that some open access and some both open access and subscription journals are having embargo period. So I understood myself that it means the period from online publication to the print publication.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Not exactly publication. Online, it will be accepted immediately as soon as you publish. As soon as you submit it to them, they will accept it, and it will be published on the online version. But sometimes, by the time it reaches the print version, if there is some discrepancy found, or if there is some kind of what do you say, plagiarism or duplication that is being found, then it can be taken out. So that is the embargo period. So there is a time period between which they take out, that they can remove the article.
Okay. Sorry for one
Go
more
ahead.
question.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Ma'am, actually, we have institutional repository in our institution.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I have the accepted paper, then can I put the paper in my institutional repository? If my paper is accepted and alone and it has not been printed so
Institutional
far?
repository, yes, that is the purpose of having an institutional repository. If your paper has been published in any journal, you can put it, that the librarian will take care of, and they'll acquire rights and they'll be able to put it up on the institutional repository.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Actually, I'm asking during the embargo period, can I put it in institutional repository?
The embargo period is, it depends upon whether the publisher is giving you access, because embargo period is before you're buying it. No, you're not buying the article itself.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So therefore, it depends upon the librarian's contact with the publishers and whether they agree or not. But I don't think they'll allow you to put it up on the institutional repository if it is not, if you don't have access to it and if you do not buy that particular database. So suppose, for example, if you're published in Web of Science and you do not have access to it, then I'm not sure if they will allow you to post it on the institutional repository.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
But
Thank
again,
you. Thank
it depends upon the kind of relationship that you have with the publisher.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Welcome.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon.
Ma'am, myself Sharmila from Chennai, ma'am. First of all, I thank the organizers and yourself, ma'am, for sharing your immense knowledge, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sharmila, for being very active participant also.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. As I think most of the people are asking a lot of technical questions, but I'm just a beginner in this research field, ma'am. It's just been 1 year since I've completed my PG and NET. I'm learning a lot of things related to research like citation, index, journals, all of things. To be frank, these things are slightly intimidating to me, ma'am. So what would be a suggestion for beginners in research, ma'am? Like, where do we start?
Where do we start? Just start doing your work. I mean, just start from literature review. That's where you start. Search and review.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
I mean, there's no need to get intimidated at all. There's no need to get scared. There's no need to get intimidated. What you need to do is, any kind of research, the only problem or the place where people find it difficult is when they have to reply back to questions, and that is because you're not very strong in your base, and your base can be strong only when you do a proper review of literature, a proper survey, carry out a proper survey of literature before you start off your research. உடனே ஜம்ப் பண்ணோம், போயிட்டு ரிசர்ச் ஆரம்பிச்சோம், கொஸ்டின் ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணோம், போயிட்டு ரிசர்ச் ஆரம்பிச்சோம்னு இருக்காம, first you start why in the area I'm doing research. Okay, I'm doing research that you are doing research in this particular area. Fine. Now, why are you doing research in this particular area? You have to support yourself. No, somebody's going to ask you a question, then you need to support yourself. So for any kind of question that's going to be asked or that's going to be thrown on your face, you have to be able to support. And that will be possible only if you're going to have a good review of literature, a good review, a good survey. You've conducted a very good survey. You've not missed out any of the niche papers, the important papers, and you're able to zero in on the area where you want to study on, and you're carrying out a proper systematic review of literature. That will help you throughout your research. You will never falter. You will not make a mistake at all. So 2 things which you should really focus on in the beginning stage of your research is, first is literature review. Okay, literature review nale nariya per bayapaduvanga. I mean, lot of people are scared of review of literature. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Many people are scared of review of literature. I don't know why. Okay, it's very important to read what has been done. முன்னாடி என்ன பண்ணிருக்காங்க நம்ம படிச்சாதான் நமக்கு தெரியும் நம்ம எங்க இருக்கோம், where are we on the right track or not, and then formulating the research proposal. These are the 2 first and foremost and most important steps in research itself. So review of literature, you don't have to read the entire, that's another thing. Okay, see, first 5 papers, when you do the review, you might have to read the entire paper, entire article, and then you need to get the hang of what is happening in this area and all that. Once you do that, then you'll become a pro. You will know how to do a review of literature. Introduction you don't need, because you are already there. You are into this particular subject. You know what this subject is all about. So you don't have to worry about the introduction part. What you need to worry about, you need to worry about the methods. You need to worry about the objectives. What is the aim of this particular paper? What is the methodology used? What are the tools that they are using? How have they, analyzed the data that is here? And what is the discussion? Results level. Why do you need what results he got? What is the discussion? What is the interpretation that he has identified? The interpretation part is something that we totally miss out on. We really need to focus more on the interpretation part. What do I take back from this? What is that one finding that I'm actually taking back? What is this one crux of the paper itself? So like that, you have to train yourself to read the paper properly. Okay, Sharmila?
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. All the best to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Mari Selvi. I'm Mari Selvi, ma'am. 2014 நாங்க உங்ககிட்ட படிச்சோம் மேம். அது ரொம்ப பெருமையா இருக்கு. நாங்க 4 பேர் இப்ப அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கோம் உங்களுடைய வெபினார். ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்கு, யூஸ்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கு.
Oh, thank you so much. It's really very.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for attending also. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ma'am, very good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Dr. Onyx Samraj here.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am, for a wonderful presentation. I'm a professor. I'm a son of Dr. Sampath Raj, worked in Pachaiyappa College.
Great, sir.
Your explanation is very good. And please do share the PPT, ma'am, because it's very useful. Because I'm doing my second doctorate in management in Astronomy University. So that it will be very useful for me to teach the students for this research work. And I'm taking research methodology also. Please do help me to share the PPT, ma'am. Thank you so much. Wonderful explanation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Sir, Ilangovan, sir. Hello, sir.
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for attending the presentation. Thank you, sir.
It's my pleasure, and it's very interesting and excellent talk. Really,
I am honored that you are here.
Great, ma'am. Really, excellent. Artist congratulations to you and team, Mrs. Meena and team, for organizing excellent session. I have I need a clarification.
Yes,
so,
sir.
as you mentioned, impact factor is a debatable factor actually, because some of the journals we have, cancer journal, there is one impact to almost cancer journal for clinician is about 508. No, the range is 1 to 508. Even for other disciplines, no, it differs. So, what would you advise for the students if you are going for a different discipline where the impact factor may be very low? Some other discipline, it may not be 100 or 5 and 200 or 5.
That's what I said. Social sciences and all, it will be very less. The
So
impact
what would you
factor will be
advise them? How would you advise the students to choose the journal from that?
Sciences is a great subject. When you have a lot of journals, a lot of deliberations take place in sciences, and therefore a lot of journals are published. A lot of new players are coming in, and because there is a lot of publication, there are a lot of people who invest in science and technology. You have a lot of publications also, and because of that, the impact factor also will increase, because a lot of publication means lots of citations. So impact factor will increase. Whereas that's not the case with social sciences and arts and humanities. Social sciences, yes, we have a less number of publications, and especially with India, there are very less number of publications in India itself which are being dedicated to social sciences or to arts and humanities. Arts and humanities is even more lesser. But then what I would suggest is to form groups rather than try to publish individually into a particular paper. To form groups with international players, people who are publishing in the international journals, or people who are already working in different communities, and try to write a collaborative paper, so that you can get yourself published in such kind of impact factor journals, since it is necessary to get published in impact factor journals. Otherwise, doing research for the sake of research, it is sufficiently enough that you steer clear from any kind of predatory journal. Do not get published in the predatory journal for social sciences and arts and humanities, as far as social sciences and arts and humanities are concerned. So just clearly stay away from the predatory journals and get yourself published in journals that have a good peer review process, that have a good editorial process. That is more than sufficient.
Great, man. Thank you. Really, excellent talk. Really had great time. And it will be
I'm
very
so
useful
honored
for
that you're
all
here.
disciplines.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, man. And best wishes to you, and congratulations to the organizers, Mrs. Meena and team. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your presentation. Was nice. I am from Madurai.
Yes.
Actually, I'm doing my PhD in communication. So I just want to clarify one thing. Actually, now I am forced to publish a paper in UGC care listed. So if my PhD is, it depends on two disciplines actually, communication and theology. If I publish a paper in theological based discipline, will it help me to know?
Yes.
அது வந்து பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணா அது வந்து எனக்கு யூஸ் ஆகுமா மேம்?
எங்க வேணாலும் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணலாம். மேக் ஷூர் நான் இப்ப சொன்ன மாதிரி தான் நீங்க வந்து எந்த சப்ஜெக்ட் பேஸ்ல வேணாலும் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணலாம். பிகாஸ் இப்போ இன்க்ரீசிங்லி we are moving towards multidisciplinary interdisciplinary research தான் we are moving towards. So அதனால நீங்க இந்த சப்ஜெக்ட் தான் அப்படின்னு கிடையாது. இப்போ உங்களுக்கு வந்து அந்த ஜர்னல்ல அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறாங்க உங்க பேப்பர் அப்படின்னா யூ கேன் பப்ளிஷ். ஒன்லி திங் வாட் நீங்க என்ன வந்து பார்க்கணும் ஒரு என்ன நீங்க ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கணும் அப்படின்னா யூ ஹாவ் டு மேக் ஷூர் தட் இது ஒரு பிரெடேட்டரி ஜர்னலா இருக்கக்கூடாது. duplication or predatory journal இருக்கக்கூடாது. I don't know the word for predatory, but predatory journal it should not be a predatory journal. It should be a journal where there is a proper peer review process that takes place. ஒரு editorial team இருக்கணும், அவங்க எடிட் பண்ணி கொடுக்குற மாதிரி இருக்கணும். அப்படி இருந்துச்சுன்னா நீங்க எந்த ஜர்னல்ல வேணாலும் சப்ஜெக்ட் எல்லாம் ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை கிடையாது, எந்த ஜர்னல்ல வேணாலும் பப்ளிஷ் பண்ணலாம். பட் only thing you have to make sure that it is not predatory. And அது நீங்க செக் பண்ணணும்னா நீங்க கேர் லிஸ்ட் ஜர்னல்ஸ் இருக்கு, UGC கேர் லிஸ்ட்ல there are three. I mean, earlier there were three, but now I think they have changed into two groups, Group 1 and Group 2. You know that this care list is maintained by the Savitribai Phule University. Okay, so they have grouped it into two groups. Group 1, it consists of the journals from Web of Science and Scopus database. So these rendu vandu major databases from where they take in all of the journals. Any of the journals that are indexed now they are available. Indexed in the Web of Science or the Scopus database is included in the UGC care list. The Group 2 is handpicked by the Savitribai Phule University itself. They handpick a few journals. Okay, so that number keeps varying, that number keeps shifting because they keep checking for the credibility of these journals. Okay, so that is why these list in the UGC care list la irukka journal vandu ஒரு சமயம் இருக்கும் ஒரு சமயம் இருக்காது அந்த particular journal பேரே இருக்கும் இருக்காது. அதனாலதான் வாட் ஐ சஜஸ்ட் இஸ் டைம் எடுத்தா கூட உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப டைம் எடுத்தா கூட நீங்க வந்து ஒரு ஆர்டிகலோ 2 ஆர்டிகலோ யூ ட்ரை டு கெட் இட் பப்ளிஷ்ட் இன் a Web of Science or a Scopus indexed journal rather than spending your time and publishing in journals which are not going to be recognized, or you put in effort because every time you write something there is so much of effort that goes in. You put in so much of effort and you write it, and if it is not going to be recognized then it's going to pain. So adanaala you think about that. Adha neenga vandu yosikkanum thavara subject doesn't matter.
Thank you so much ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon ma'am.
Good afternoon ma'am.
I am Dr. Priya from Vivo Chidambaram College, Tuticorin ma'am.
Yes ma'am.
It is an excellent presentation and a crystal clear explanation ma'am. Thank you very much ma'am. I have one query ma'am. You pointed out English editing tool in IDAN's database.
Yes.
Can we access it for free ma'am, or we have to pay for it?
You have to pay for it, but I think they'll allow for 1 or 2. I mean, if you register then they'll allow for a little bit of time they will allow for free to check it freely. But then I'm not sure English editing they allow for free. Journal selector vandu konjam they'll allow for free, but I'm not sure if English editing they allow for free. But it does cost about 3,000 or something like that per year nenikiren.
Okay ma'am, thank you ma'am, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good afternoon ma'am, this is Dr. Kritika from Presidency College. A few clarifications that I would like to have, but on the onset, it was a very intellectual presentation and a very useful presentation at this time when we are running after publications. A few years back, when I had published a paper, that journal was in the Scopus indexed list, but now it is not there in the UGC care list. Will that journal still hold a point in giving as a Scopus, or how will it be taken into account, ma'am?
Yes, this is the problem in Scopus. I'll just show it to you 1 second. Scopus. There is a problem in Scopus. Scopus journals, even when that particular list itself. Oh, 1 second. I'm just logging on to Scopus, so I'll just show it to
The
you.
same thing is also happening for UGC approved list of journals which were there a few years back. It's not there in UGC CARE list. And as far as the rules and regulations of PhD regulations publications goes, we have been asked to publish in UGC CARE list journals. Now, how do we choose those journals, number one? And do we actually go in for an impact journal, because that's going to take a long time, as well as it's going to be very difficult and face quite a few rejections. That's a very known factor when we go for a high impact factor journal. Even if the impact factor is 0.5, the journal is a very good one, but we are not able to publish even in that. It is in the UGC CARE list. So what do you suggest for all these problems?
That's what I'm telling you. This is a big topic, which, I think a lot of people should get in and talk about this particular topic of, where there is a nexus between the publication agencies and bringing out this impact factor and quality and all those things. So there is a huge mess up of things over here, which is there. Of course, adhe mari open access la pananu appadina, open access la they'll charge you something called as the article processing fee, which will be a very huge amount. Like you have something like PLOS, which is a very good impact factor journal, but they'll charge the authors a article processing fee, which is a huge amount, which will have to be borne by the organization. Again, we do not have that kind of a backing or that kind of a support, which we don't have. So yeah, it is little difficult. That is why my suggestion would be that you try to form groups, a collaborative group. This is a new thing which I have come up with, which I'm just reading and I'm trying to find out. And I think that actually helps a lot. When you form groups, it really helps in getting ourselves published in a recognized journals, because otherwise, yes, it is a very tough job to even get published in one of the 0.5 impact factor journal. Publish ஆறது ரொம்ப ஒரு கஷ்டமான விஷயம் தான். Second thing, to answer to your question about Scopus. See, if it is Web of Science, close your eyes and get it published. There is no problem, because Web of Science has a very, very tedious process of including journals in their database, itself. So they go through all of the tedious process. So if it is going to be indexed in the Web of Science, then you don't have to worry at all. You can immediately get yourself published. Whereas Scopus list, Scopus listed journals in I have seen a lot of predatory journals which say Scopus listed journals, and they'll put they'll show the a web page where in the Scopus list you will find the name of that particular journal, but it will only be there in that particular name list in the search box. But if you go and search the Scopus journal, it will not be there. So this is a flaw which is there in the Scopus journals. When it is coming for when the particular journal has been given for to be added to the database itself. From that time itself, you will be able to view it. Now let me just show you the sources. Okay, I'm just clicking on the sources. So you can see here 42,000 journals. Okay, see, Web of Science has only about 25,000 journals or something like that. It has 42,000 journals. Not all of them are not journals. Some of them are also conference proceedings which are included here. All of them together. Okay, the results na solluva. If you see here, look here. Sir was talking about cancer impact factor. The site score which is brought out by Scopus. So this site score, click on this site score. Okay, it's from the highest to this thing. So now if it comes to the opposite side la pona, lowest level
lowest.
Ama ipo in the lowest level la irukkracha inda mari vanduchu ipo NA not applicable 0.00 unda kuda it is okay. But if it says not applicable, if everything is not applicable, this 0.0 is also acceptable. But if it says not applicable, that means it is not included in the database.
Okay.
So you don't have to, do not go by that particular journal. That can be a predatory journal. Of course, it's a very difficult thing for academicians to know all these things. See, as a professional, I might know it, but not necessary that as an academician you will know it, because your area is totally different. You'll be working on that area. So it becomes very difficult.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for raising this question. Yes, ma'am. Meena, if there are no more questions, we can wind up.
Yes, ma'am. Some questions in the
chat
box, ma'am. I think I already answered some questions, but still some question is there, ma'am.
Yes.
The question from Komadi is Web of Science publication necessary to have an account in Publon, ma'am?
No, not necessary to have an account in Publon. Publon, like I told you, it's like a researcher ID or SID ID. Munadi adukku per researcher ID. publonistics. Now it is called publons. Now, if you have a researcher ID, if you have a publon ID, that means that you will be able to authenticate yourself. Okay, so it becomes like a unique ID for yourself. It is a unique ID for yourself. So you can have that ID, which will help you to wherever you publish your articles, it will help you to link all of those articles. So that is why they create this ORCID ID or publon ID.
Okay, another question, ma'am, from yes, Priya. Is the tool for English editing is paid one? Is the tool for English editing is paid one?
Yes, I think he asked that question. Yeah, yeah, it is a paid one. It is a paid one.
Okay, ma'am.
ಅದೇನ ಸ್ಟಾಕ್ ಅದೇನು ತಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಸತಕ್ ಕೊಡ್ರ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈಗ ಸೋಮವಾರ ದಿನ ನಾನು ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೋಗಂತಿದಾರ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ.
Ma'am, I'm Gomati.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, it is a very wonderful session, ma'am. Actually, I'm having a doubt regarding plagiarism, ma'am.
Yes.
Because we are using the basic definitions and formulas and everything, and we can't change it in the articles, right, ma'am? So how to reduce plagiarisms regarding that?
Those are exclusions, ma'am. The definitions, the formulas, the mathematical formulas. So all of that, all of those will come under exclusions. So any kind of generic things which are related to the particular subject, they are all supposed to be excluded. It has to be excluded. It will be excluded. Okay. That will come under exclusions. There is something called as exclusions. Plagiarism there is clear policy. What is what can come under exclusion? You must not try to pass off the entire literature review as a exclusion, as a as a quoted version. But an equation or a particular definition or a particular formula, it will be an exclusion only. It will be considered as.
And regarding notations also, ma'am, the symbols, notations, and everything comes under that.
Pardon, ma'am?
Regarding notations, ma'am. I'm basically from maths, so we will be using the symbols and notations and all. So will it that also will be considered?
Yes, yes. Mathematical equations, yes. Those will be considered as exclusions as long as it's coming in the introduction part of it and all that. And if it is, unless it is in the analysis and the findings part, then it becomes a problem.
Ma'am, is it advisable to use the notations in the abstract?
If you want to make your point clear, then maybe you will have to use it, but otherwise it's not really advisable to use it in the abstract. Keep it as simple as possible so people can understand what you're working on.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Really, it's a very nice section.
Ma'am, this is Malati from Government Arts College, Nandanam.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, can you brief us regarding this UGC care list, ma'am?
I just told you about it, but anyway, the UGC care list, like I told you, it consists of two groups, group 1 and group 2. Group 1 consists of the Web of Science and the Scopus journals. So earlier, if you remember, we had something called as the UGC list, okay, list of journals, approved list of journals. So adla they had 3 lists, okay, so they were including the Web of Science journals, they were including the Scopus journals, and they were including something called as the Indian Citation Index journals. Now, through the Indian Citation Index journals, a lot of predatory journals found their way into the list, and that is why they scrapped the entire list, and now they are including only the 2 major databases, which is the Web of Science database and the Scopus database, and they are including the another hand-picked list of journals which come with recommendation or which come with some kind of authorization from the universities, okay, who are selected to to vet those journals. So the Savitribai Phule University, they prepare the list itself. So according to the rule that UGC has set in right now, if your journal, your article has to be published in any of these, it has to fall under any of these databases.
Ma'am, it is actually it is very hard to find UGC careless journal, especially with the science for the science subject, for the science field, right, ma'am?
No,
if you
very easy. I will not
no
science
actually
field,
yeah no actually
is very easy. Social science is only very difficult. Science, there are many journals which are there for the science fields, all of the science fields, and all of them are interdisciplinary.
There are many, ma'am, but acceptance and the processing has been delayed
That is what I'm telling. That is why, what is the reason why, that is why we had this presentation as to how you should make sure that your article gets accepted into those kind of journals. So what are the things that you are doing wrong?
Yeah, even, no ma'am, we actually design our paper according to their need only. The basic things are the same, right? But even after designing our paper according to their need, there is not much difference between any two journals, ma'am. I mean, the background is the same. But I'm telling the filtering the journal, we find very difficult.
You have for the science people, see, social science people, the problem is there are not many journals. Science people, the problem is there is huge competition. There is huge competition. There are many people who are working in your area. There are many people who are in the same field. So you have huge competition. So you have to have the edge. You have to be better than another person. That means you have to improve your collaboration. Do not try to write a single article by a person on your own and try to get it published in a science journal. It is practically not possible. The more you have involvement from different places, from different organizations, or from different centers, okay, try to get involved. Try to involve as many scientists as possible in the same area, either from abroad or from institutions, from premier institutions. Try to collaborate with them and write. Then your acceptance will be higher. The problem is we don't know collaboration. I understand, Dr. Malati, what you're saying, because it's difficult for us. எனக்கு தெரியவே தெரியாது ஆள் யாருன்னு, இவங்க என்ன சொல்றாங்க, அவங்க சொல்றது நம்ம கேட்கணும், நம்ம பண்ற வர்க்கும் நம்ம பண்ணணும். But we have to get published.
I feel, ma'am, mostly I feel they accept the paper based on the affiliation, ma'am. Yes. Based on the affiliation. Yes, they don't check for the quality of the paper. They first check for the affiliation and they accept.
Yes, they check for the affiliation. The next part is the quality. Quality also is important, but they do check for the affiliation. And like I told you in the beginning itself, this is a nexus. We are in that. So you have to think of how to survive. Maybe when if I become something if I'm there in the higher education panel, then maybe I will take some new steps to take something. Or if you go to the higher education panel, then you can take some new steps to change this. But right now we are in this situation. How are we going to survive in this situation?
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Participants, if you have any questions, kindly send it in an email. We will answer all your questions. Already we are running out of time, so now we move to next. Now I request to Dr. Shankita, Organizing Secretary of the webinar, Assistant Professor of Zoology, Pachaiyappa College, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Respected and our most distinguished resource person of the day, Dr. Fazul Nisha, respected Principal in Charge, Dr. Shri Jayanti ma'am, professors, and my dear friends. On behalf of the Department of Library, Pachaiyappa College, I deem it is a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who helped us in making this webinar such a resound manner. I would like to thank our distinguished speaker, Dr. Fazul Nisha ma'am, for making excellent presentation, and your thoughts have enlightened our mind and have shown us a new path. My gratitude to the speaker for gracing the occasion and sharing her opinion. I thank Sri Jayanti ma'am for sparing her time in her busiest schedule to grace this occasion. A special mention to our library department and convener of the webinar, Mrs. Meena ma'am, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillar of strength. I would also like to thank Dr. V. Shivamurugan sir, Assistant Professor in Chemistry, who worked behind to make this event happen. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank coordinators and organizing secretary of this webinar for making this great success. This is the proudest day in the history of our college. Today we have hosted the national webinar with 600 participating colleges and universities across all streams of education, from science and technology to research in short duration. We have achieved our overwhelming registration not only in Tamil Nadu but also from Gujarat, Bihar, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Kerala, Chhattisgarh, Goa, Rajasthan, Puducherry, Haryana, Odisha, Assam, West Bengal, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Mizoram, Andaman and Nicobar Island states, and abroad Bangladesh. I'm happy to express vote of thanks to faculty members and participants for their cordial cooperation for this successful webinar. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the organizers, and thank you, dear Meena. Meena is a wonderful student of ours, and I'm so happy that she's grown leaps and bounds, and I wish her huge success, and all the other students who are here who have studied under the University of Madras. I really wish you people success, and make sure that the job that we are in is a proactive job, so we have to go reach out to our users. So thank you so much. Thank you for the entire team to being so supportive to the librarian at your college. It's really makes my heart very happy to see this kind of togetherness in the institution itself.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amina.
Yeah, I'll close it.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Hello. Am I
Yes.
audible? Yeah.
Yes, Meena ma'am.
Okay.
You're audible.
Nice. Thank you, ma'am, and thank you so much, organizing team and all the participants for your support. I hope this lecture would have paved a marvelous revamp among everyone. Thank you, ma'am, for giving us such a lucid presentation on how to write a journal article and how to get published in Impact Factor Journal and how to cover the journal. Your presentation was informative and inspiring. I'm sure it would help the budding researcher in all the field to prepare themselves to write papers and get it published in Impact Factor journals. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you all.
Smile, Meena, smile. Smile and speak. Smile.
With this warm words, we move to the end of today's webinar. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone. Feedback link is provided in the chat box, both in Zoom as well as YouTube. Participants, kindly fill in the feedback form. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you once again. We'll move.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Ilangovan sir, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, sir. Ilangovan sir. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and really had a great session. Thank you so much for a wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, Meena.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks to all the participants. Thanks a lot.
Ma'am,